end of bigotry, cause I am down for the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise
Accountability
together.
starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Well, hello. Hello.
Hey, Vincent, man, you got to get a watch so you know when we're on live. Because we have a hot mic, they never know what might come out our mouths. Anyway, listen, well, what?
That's part of the Eric Dawson show is the pre-show and the post-show.
I know, they got to listen. Man, the stuff we talk about. If they think that the show is on fire, you know, we need to do that, right? We need to have like a post show, you know, where people could just call in and be more candid about whatever. I think we're candid anyway, so what does it matter? Anyway.
No, Eric, come on. You know that there are filters that are in place while the mic is live. Come on.
Wait a minute, hey, Diane, do I have any filters?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Hey, listen, man. Listen. The only time you have a filter is when you're on a plantation. I ain't on no plantation. So what comes out of my
you
mouth.
Ain't singing no more spirituals.
You know what? No, I'll keep singing the Negro spirituals because I like them, but I'm not singing them because I have to. You understand? Listen, look. It is an amazing thing to be free. I tell you, it is. But anyway, listen, we got Diana Murray Clements, guys. We've got Vincent Squire, who's running for U.S. Senate against Cory Booker, and we got our main man. I'm so excited to have him back. I texted him this morning because he said after he called in and dropped a bomb on us at the end of the show yesterday, right? I said, all right, are you sure you're going to call in today? He said, yep, I'm calling in. So we got Darren Martin in the house. So welcome, buddy.
Good morning, all.
So what's going on, everybody? It's Juneteenth. Diana, you on fire on Facebook.
Get that out of here. Let me tell you, I water my lawn
And one of the not police enforcers just stopped and asked me just now while y'all was talking, "You coming to the event tonight?" I said, "Get the F out of here." So I'm going to celebrate being free from slaves, and we got a mayor that could just write a law into place and end all of this police brutality. Black folks are stupid. That's all I got to say.
Oh, wait a minute. Have you guys been getting an email from white people of how do we celebrate Juneteenth?
Listen.
Oh,
Well,
Lord,
no, but you know.
I don't have no white friends. I know better.
But wait a minute, but you know, Vincent, you gotta lower your mic. You gotta lower your mic. You gotta lower it, man. Listen, you Juneteenth, reparations, Black Lives Matter. All of these things are high on Google's list of things that have been searched over the last couple of weeks. I mean, people are trying to figure it all out. But you know, but here's the thing for me, and it goes back to what I said in the beginning, right? Education is key. And so if people are trying to find it, that means that they didn't learn about it. And if they didn't learn about it, why? So right now, all of these children that are going to these schools are being miseducated, just like all of the people who are currently searching Google trying to find out what slavery is, what Juneteenth is, what reparations are, what Black Lives Matter means. All of this should be it should be ingrained in the education of every student, primary education, secondary education, and beyond. Gotta learn it.
They can't do that, Eric, because then they'd have to admit that America is built on rape,
right,
robbery,
brutality. Hey, listen, but what did Marianne Williamson say? And I'm telling you, she was the most brilliant candidate for me on the stage during the debates. She said there is a moral turbulence. See, what we see right now is exactly what she talked about. And you know what? We didn't have the courage as black people to be in support of her. I want to say that again. She was the only one speaking the truth. Well, no. Let me take that back. Because all these checks that you guys... Huh?
Gang too, yeah.
What?
Gang too.
That's what I was going to say. All these checks that you guys are signing and cashing and waiting on the steps for the mailman to bring, or waiting to see if it got directly deposited in your account. Well, when Yang was talking about universal basic income, you all were saying, "Oh, I'm not down for socialism. Or we're going to be like Venezuela. We're going to be like this one. We're going to be like that one." Do you understand how absolutely ignorant you are? And so now that you're feeling all the pain, right? It's all right. But you still can't bring yourself to call it what it is, right? America has no safety net, no social safety net for you, because they don't give a damn about you. But Yang said that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And Marianne Williamson said what? She said, until this country... Hey, Diane, what was the movie? Color Purple.
Until you do right by me.
Until you do right by me, ain't no good coming. Ain't no good coming.
Hey, you got to put your hands up and make that face.
Wait, Diane, you got to have that crooked finger too, right? Pointing
Diane
at.
getting ready to go shave, mister.
Until you do, and you know what? And Diane, every black person should wear a shirt that says, "Until America does right by me."
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying, y'all?
That's right.
See, so it ain't about Juneteenth, celebrating Martin Luther King, but it ain't about naming streets after people. It ain't about none of that, because none of that moves the needle one bit.
Again, all of that they have been doing, naming schools and streets and giving holidays, is what they have been giving us. And we need to now start demanding what we want.
Yeah, a holiday that turns into
Wait, we don't know what we want.
Day.
Diane,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute. But
Well, don't forget the upcoming Juneteenth sales day.
But Vincent, we don't know what we want. You bring 20 black people in a room together, and they don't know what they want.
Excuse me. Eric, shall we put it together so the these politicians who do not have an actual brain, an original thought, or the ability or proclivity to get anything done can actually use this now to get done? Or should we wait till further in the campaign?
Well,
to
listen,
express to
look,
America
so here's the
what
deal.
we need?
Guys, without a lot of breath, a lot of words, what we must have is economic and political power.
Yeah, that's the
Power.
point.
Anything less than that will not do. So, whatever it is that whatever prescription they've written, and they've given it to you, right? And you read it. And they're talking about what they're going to do, all the platitudes, all the promises, all the way. If it does not equate to a road towards economic and political power, it's just empty.
I think that's a very good, safe way to start, because that gives those people who do not have a brain, it puts them in a massive confusion to figure out how to do it. And they can't figure out how to do it because it steps on those people who have given them, all those big corporations, who have been giving them big campaign donations, and they would now step on their necks.
But you have to go into explanation to what political power means, because we have black faces in positions and we still have no political power.
We have black faces, but they're not representing black people.
What do you say, Dan?
Okay, here's what we're forgetting. We're forgetting that, and I think all of you are right, but we're forgetting that we suffer from a couple of things. We suffer from the illusion of inclusion, because they give us the illusion that we're included when we're not. And then we have this perception of acceptance. And I agree with Vince when he say we need to stop asking for what we want and start demanding what we need. And see, we have a bunch of, Diane, you're right, we have a lot of black faces, but they're not using their black voices to represent us. They're representing themselves and their family members and their friends and people they know, but they're not representing us. So we got to, and I totally agree with Eric that black people don't know what they want and or what we need. We have to really drill down on what we need, and it has to end with or be in that area or on the road going towards, like Eric said, economic and political power. Without those, this is enough.
Well, here is a clue to it, and I hate to actually quote him because Eric has a huge parody on his name, but at the funeral he said, "We need white America to get your knee off our necks."
Yeah.
That's the biggest start, and you're absolutely correct. Once we get their knee off our necks, I believe that we will now, working together, build America to
Right,
be the
but
country
you know what
that
though?
it was
But let's
intended to
stop
be.
again. Let's stop again. So we're clear, right? And we gotta just be clear. We are a sick patient, mentally, right? I mean, we got some physical illnesses too, right? And we see them playing out in the age of COVID-19. But mentally, we are sick. These socially transmitted diseases, right? We're sick. And so to simply say, oh, we need to get up and do this, we need therapy. Hold on for 1 second.
Well, first thing in terms of getting therapy, let's stop electing people who are supposed to be our voice, and as soon as they start making some money from these campaign donors, they forget us. As soon as they start dating white women, they forget black people.
Well, I don't want to get into that white women, black people stuff. No, I'm not even going in. Let's take a caller. Caller, go.
As soon as they start
No,
getting
Vincent,
money,
I said I don't
they
want
stealing-
to. I don't want to get into that because I think that's something that may be some personal stuff, but that ain't. Caller, go.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Erica.
I just started listening to 2 minutes ago.
What's up?
Darren was saying, and I just gotta ask, I do believe that black people need to know what they want or what they need. But at the same time, when you're talking to the people who know what they've done,
Do we really have to know? Does Black America have to know what it needs or what it wants in order for a person who knows what they did to you to correct what they did?
Well, but so Farrakhan, let me say this. So here's Farrakhan, here's the deal, right? And I keep
I'm not talking about something.
Farrakhan, let me.
I just.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying again. Let us understand our condition first. See, we keep skipping past our condition. So you asked the question, and I'm going to try my best based on how I'm looking at it to answer it. So I think that the woman who is in an abusive relationship with the guy she's with, she doesn't want to get her ass kicked again. She really doesn't want to get a fat lip again. She doesn't want to have her arm broken again. She doesn't want to get thrown down the stairs again. She doesn't want that, right? But there is something inside. She's sick. She is sick. Sick. And so she stays. And all of her friends see it. Just like here now. All of the world sees the abusive relationship that America has with black people. The entire world is marching and protesting at the abusive relationship that America has with black people. And black people can't leave. They can't leave.
Well,
it's a sickness.
To that, but to Eric, to that, right? You know, what I'm going to say is this. The reason the world is marching with black people right now and protesting with black people.
Well, we can get it. Wait, right. So we can. I don't want to dig into the. But no. I don't want to go off course. I don't want to go off course from the sickness of black people. So I don't want to get into. Well, this is why I think they're marching in France, and this is why I think they're marching here. That's not the conversation that I want to have. I want to have I don't want to say focused on why we won't leave. That's where I want to be. See, Juneteenth marks what?
Juneteenth marks nothing.
No, it did. No, that's not true.
Juneteenth expressly marks a level of ignorance.
No. But I'm saying.
Yes, it does.
No,
yes, it does.
No,
you know why?
You're missing what I'm asking you.
Okay.
I'm saying, what is the origin of Juneteenth?
Okay, the origin of Juneteenth
marks
was
what?
Marks the fact that Texas has now found out.
No, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about then. When the origins of Juneteenth marks what?
I'm trying to give it to you, but I guess I'm not going in the direction that you want.
No, you're going too long-winded, right? It's just very simple. History.
It supposedly marked the end of slavery.
Thank you. That's all I want, Vincent. I didn't want
slavery ended before Juneteenth. It was the simple fact that Texas got it late.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Vincent, stop screaming.
It was get on both. That's what Juneteenth.
Wait a minute, your phone is breaking up, Farrakhan.
United States of America. Right? It marks the United States of America to get on both.
Hey, Farrakhan, your phone is breaking up. Your phone is breaking up.
Oh, my phone is breaking up?
Yeah, it's hard to hear you.
Yeah. Hold on.
Right.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Juneteenth marked get on board. It marked, okay, United States of America says you got to get on board with the rest. Like that you can't keep doing your independent thing. And the reason for that was if you keep letting them do their independent thing and do it their way, it might spark another revolution. And that's the part that people are missing. It was, we have to discipline Texas. Because if we don't, somebody's going to be like, well, wait a minute, Texas over there doing their thing. I ain't going to listen to it either. And it'll start over again. So it was, we got to check them now. That's what Juneteenth was about. Let's be clear. Again, none of the end of slavery, civil war, Emancipation Proclamation, none of that was about helping slavery. It was about protecting their organizations from disease. See, again, that's what Juneteenth is about. No, see, again, we're getting off track. Now, let's look at it and do the math. The Emancipation Proclamation was January 1st, 1863. Correct? When Texas actually recognized it, it was June 1865.
slavery got it wrong if that's the case. But I mean, let's not have a history lesson, because I don't really think that that's the point of what Eric is trying to say. The point is, you know, slavery was abolished. Pick the day you want to pick. I'll pick. I was always supposed to be free. We just wanted to fight.
Right.
But I don't care what day you pick.
But I'll give you.
And again, I don't. You know, I can't. I don't want to say it wasn't. I think his guys were still being slaves. They didn't fight on June 19th, 1865. It wasn't fighting. It wasn't wilding out. Right? That's not how we got that independence. Okay, so I don't feel that independence. Right? It was a declaration, right, in which General Garner came to Texas and said, "Hey, y'all got to do this. If you don't, we already took you over. You already surrendered your militia and your heart. But now y'all got to do what we're telling you to do." That ain't my, you know, I don't feel nothing special about it. Because again, when you notice the Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't really free anybody. Because the people that were saying that it was free is to a group of people that had already left the country. They'd already split from the Union.
Again, well, here's another history fact.
You don't need to have that debate of history. Well, you want to keep having it. I mean, I don't get it. Point is, period. In 2020, Black America, why are we? What is the conversation that we're having about, well, what we need to have? What we need to have is equality. There is no mystery to that. We don't need special equality. We need equality. And then if you did something to prohibit my equality, that needs to be made correct. The United States government knows it. I don't have to ask a white guy about it because I don't expect them to know. But I do know that this nation knows. They know it as an organization. They know the rules that they allowed and the rules that they put into effect. So I don't need to try to explain to Joe, the white guy, why we need some reparations. My government already knows. And this is how I know. Because if, what's the lady Pelosi has been in, what we say, how many years, 30-plus years in Congress, and yet today she wants to announce she's removing the Confederate senators from
Right. Yeah. Right.
But can we get back to
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, you're moving different places, Farrakhan.
Let me just finish.
But you're going different places in the conversation.
She obviously already know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
She knew before. I don't think she didn't learn about them before she was just desperate. She's been had that in her pocket.
Right. No. So look, so go ahead, Vincent. Before I go ahead, say what you're gonna say, Vincent.
No. Go ahead, Eric. Please.
So they all know, Farrakhan. They all know. Look. In the end, they're there.
So Eric, if they all know, why do we got it?
Why do we what?
I know something if I know you know.
Wait. You asked me a question. Wait.
Could you let Eric finish?
Yeah, you asked me a question, and then what's your question again, Farrakhan? Hello?
Sorry, I had to take it off of mute.
What's your question?
The question is, why do we got to know if you just said they know? If they know what they did, we don't got to know.
No. So, well, that's not true, right? So you have to have an understanding. You have to have an understanding. So as long as they know that they're ripping you off and you don't know they're ripping you off, and then you're hoping that the person ripping you off is just going to stop out of benevolence, right? So once you know they're ripping you off, then you can do something to stop them. And so once you know that you are in an abusive relationship, because you know, some people, I'm telling you, the sickness of understanding what abuse is. See, the lack of self-love, right? And understanding the things that you deserve and should have and have a right to, right? All of those things have systematically and structurally been taken away from us to really be able to calibrate properly here. And so we believe, so we went through a couple of months ago, whether we're existing or surviving, right? And I said to you, we're existing because if we were surviving, we'd be fighting. See, so and I also said to you, if you just drive through our neighborhoods, we look like a conquered people. Just a conquered people. And so there is this, and it is something, it's a wave that just continues generation after generation, like a socially transmitted disease. Like when I use these terms, I'm using them to try to create some connectivity so that when you see what you see, you can connect it to something. There's something wrong. Like I guess that's a more general way to say it. There's something wrong with us. And until we fix that, right? So yeah, in the thing that's wrong with us doesn't allow us to understand what's being done to us. And so when you say if they know they're abusing us, why do we need to know? Yeah, we need to know. And enough people don't know. Listen, you can go down the street and talk to some people and they'll tell you, here you go, Farrakhan. If we know that the government, that America is abusive to us, and you still got black folks that say, oh, I don't do politics. Oh, I don't get involved in government. Oh, I don't do this thing. Well, okay, so they don't know. They don't know. So you got to ask, well, how is it that your circumstances are the way that they are? Now, what America has taught us as well as other people is we're in the condition that we're in because we're just not working hard enough. We're in the condition we're in because we're trifling. You see, we're in the condition we're in, not because of policies and other kinds of structural and systemic racism. We're in the condition because we have not engaged in rugged individualism. See, you like you are, man, because you ain't working hard enough. That's not the truth. And so we need to know.
Okay.
They know, and we need to know. Go ahead, Vincent.
Well, first of all, that is one of the big things. Engaging in rugged individualism only actually helps and shows example of the individual. And one thing you always pull out is that collectively we're still failing. Second point, that Texas was not the only state to emancipate late. The state of New Jersey actually emancipated the slaves as late as 1865, 2 years later. So, slavery and oppression ingrained in this state that we're in.
It's ingrained in the country. Listen, it isn't, but we said it. It's baked into the DNA. We know it, right? And every day we talk about it. And the hope is that the people who listen to the show go and share it. But what did she say in Color Purple? Ain't no good gonna happen till you do right by us. Nothing. Mary Williamson said there's a moral turbulence.
Again, let's now get past what white people are giving us and get to what we are demanding.
Well, again, we got people demanding flat screen TVs as they raid and loot stores.
And what did your father say about them people?
You got to let them die because they ain't letting you live. Let them die.
Now let's move on to the next one. What do we get to the demand? What are we going to collectively demand to get their foot off our necks?
Right. So again, I'm saying, look, and Vincent, you and I, and Darren, I mean, you tell me what you think based on what's going on in these elections, right? And I'm talking at the local level, right? Not at the national level. If we're not demanding through our vote, right, something better than we've had before, and we see the same Board of Education folk or similar folk get elected, we see the same or similar folk get elected to council, we see the same or similar folk get elected to mayors in our communities, right? We see the same. We're not demanding anything. We have laid down, right, and are continuing to lie down for the status quo. I mean, look, let's take Orange, New Jersey, for example, right? What's going to change there? They elected the same mayor. They elected the same council people. They know, if they want to know, because it was all in the newspaper, that the feds are all over City Hall and grabbing documents and all kinds of things, right? So when you say demand that we need to be actively participating in trying to extricate ourselves from this abusive relationship, we can't run fast enough to the abuser and hug him and kiss him and protect him.
Oh, yeah, because he said he was sorry and brought us some flowers from the 7-Eleven.
I didn't even know the guy in Orange said he was sorry. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, some of them are so contemptuous, they don't even have to do that.
Okay, so let's now educate the people on some of the issues that we need to demand.
power.
Okay, so stop right there, Vince. That's a good starting point. So, and I talked about this many times, and I keep drilling these 3 points. We must first start with voter education. There's 3 steps: voter education, voter registration, then voter participation. Let me break it down. Voter education. Most people don't even know why they're voting. They see it as an exercise. So we must explain to people the importance of voting, the power we can get. Talking about that political power that me and Eric keep talking about. Voter registration, you register them after they're educated. See, we flipping it around. We register them and tell them to just go to the polls. You got to educate them, then register them to vote, and talking about the importance of that. Then voter participation is the hardest one, because if it rains on election day, we're worried about people not coming out. That means that they didn't get educated properly. If somebody's didn't get the nomination, people don't go to the polls as they did in the last presidential election, and it's probably going to happen again in this one in November. We got to get to those 3 pillars, and until we deal with those 3 pillars the correct way, we're going to be in big trouble. When I recently was asked to speak at the rally with the young people in Union, one of the things that they was drilling home was they had their voter registration table there, but they also are educating their young people, that young group, that age 18 to 35, 18 to 40. We got to make sure that they understand the importance of it, and not just tell them, herd them to the polls for every election and saying, go vote for line A or line B or line D. We got to get back to those 3 pillars, and that's what we got to start there.
Now, to substantiate what you and Eric both said, here is the importance of economic and political power. The Black Wall Street of Tulsa, Oklahoma had incredible economic power, yet they did not push for elections and being on the ballot or having representation in voting. So they didn't have the political power. Once their economic power grew to the point where white people were jealous and decided to take it by force, there was no political power and no laws to protect them or compensate them. That's the importance of our political power.
So can I ask just one question? Because I've heard it twice from both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
What's the consequence of the demand?
Oh.
The consequence of the what is
Oh,
the
no,
consequence
you're right.
of the demand?
So here you go. So the consequence of the demand is this, and I get exactly where you're going. So if we demand this, right, and they don't execute on it, we have to be willing and able, organized, to move against them, to remove them. So if what we're demanding, not asking, right? So let's use words carefully here. So if we're demanding, and I don't think we are right now, of any elected official, right?
Yeah, right. All we've been doing is asking.
Well, let me.
We have to know. We have to learn how to
but we can't talk over each other, though.
We're taking
but we
what they
can't, again,
give
guys.
us. We're laying down and taking it.
But guys, we got to show some discipline on the show and not talk over each other, right? So what I'm saying is this: if we're going to demand, then we have to say we're going to demand, and everybody's got to be on the same page to demand. And what we have to acknowledge right now is nobody is demanding anything. Nobody's demanding. Please let me finish.
Eric,
Please
let's clarify this.
Let me.
So, whoa. Let's clarify this, Eric. A demand is a simple
Vincent,
negotiation from strength.
Vincent, you just can't help yourself. Let me finish, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you stopped.
No, I didn't. So what I'm saying,
you're cutting in and out.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is this: we didn't demand anything when Murphy ran, right? Murphy said he needed our votes. We didn't demand anything. Then we got in office. He didn't give us anything. We still didn't demand anything. We just waited for him to give us something, right?
Correct.
And that's happening over and over again. So let's agree, and I agree with all of you guys. Let's demand these things, and then to your point, Farrakhan, if we demand them, and they say that they're going to do it, we give them a timeline to get it done. And if they don't execute on that timeline, then we move to remove them. I'm good with that. Can we all agree to that?
Hold on, Eric. You broke up.
Eric, if I could add,
okay. Eric, you broke up when you said people to or something. My thing is, what is that?
What is what?
excuse me, Farrakhan, chill out, big, chill out, man. Okay, just chill for a second. All right? Again, if we don't know how to use the vote properly, right, which is what Darren just said, we don't know how to be, we're not voter educated yet. How can we make this demand? We gotta know. We have to have the consequence of the demand figured out first. Right? If we don't and didn't know how to do that, how to inflict that, because all I've ever heard of the show is the consequence of the demand is vote them out. So if Darren has already stated, and I didn't hear anybody inject or object to him, that we don't know how to vote properly, we don't know how we're not voter educated properly, then that demand doesn't work until we get that part done. So don't tell me to give a demand and I still don't know how to get the
No,
give the
right,
consequence.
got it.
Can I please now?
Go ahead, Vincent.
Okay, to back up what Eric was saying.
I don't
and
need you to
answer
back
your
up what I'm
question-
saying. Just say what you're going to say.
Okay, to answer your question, Farrakhan, okay? And as I said, a demand is a negotiation from strength. Now, one, like he said, if we hold their feet to the fire. If
You're wrong.
Please let me finish.
I'm cutting you off.
Please.
No, don't cut him off. No, don't do that.
Don't,
Please. No.
do not
Fair-
cut me off.
Farrakhan, don't cut him off.
Would you please? Please.
All right, I'm gonna.
We're gonna have some decorum.
Wait, Vincent, stop.
Let you finish yours.
Vincent. So one, Vincent, right? You're co-host on the show, so I need you to show discipline, right? Because Kevin can't do this. And then Farrakhan, no, just don't, because once you say I'm going to cut him off, then he says, well, then I have a right now to cut you off. And then the whole show just loses structure, right? So allow the person to finish. Please, stop. Come on, guys. We could do that,
Okay.
right?
Wait, I have one quick thing. We didn't have a meeting about Vincent being a co-host. That's all I had to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, demand, negotiation from strength. One is that once we make the demands and these elected officials do that, and we work and look at holding their feet to the fire, if they do not do it, we vote them off. Number two, we now starve their backers because the elected officials are backed by corporations. Corporations are corporations that make billions of dollars off of our pockets. So we now boycott the people that are keeping them in office.
So going what Vincent says, he makes a good point there. While we should be voting people out and people don't understand how their voting power works and who to vote for and all of this, what we also should be doing is targeting specific companies that give money to these campaigns or these elected officials that we want out. So say, for instance, our biggest campaign donor in New Jersey may be PSEMG. We'll start boycotting them. If it's Comcast, we boycott them. That's what we do. That's how the control to make the companies change what they do. And in turn, the elected officials are going to have to move in a different way because they won't get that funding.
Right.
Correct.
So, look.
So let me say something.
Go ahead, Darren.
And I think Farrakhan's right, Vince. I never heard of a demand being some kind of negotiation. A demand is strictly a demand. When you're demanding something, I guess you meant it in a different context. But
No.
if we're talking about economic and political power, and I agree with Vince about those things, cutting off those funders, et cetera, that's what you have to do, and boycotting them, et cetera. But then that leads into that economic power and knowing what our worth is and our buying power. We have after weaponizing our vote, we got to weaponize our dollars because black dollars matter as well. Not just the Black Lives Matter, but black dollars matter as well.
Amen.
If we use that effectively, and start to, if we can, no different than when we do those little seminars, when we do a Know Your Rights campaign, and we teach you what your rights are when the police pull you over, how you should respond, interactions with the police, etc. We got to start from the ground up, guys, doing seminars on our dollars, not those glorified ones that people are doing where they just looking to make their own money, etc. We got to teach people about money because financial literacy is something that's lost in our community big time. And I know one reason is because a lot of our people and ancestors didn't have money. I get it, and some of us don't either. But we got to learn to pool our resources together.
Right. So
Correct.
I'm not disagreeing with any of it. I think that this group of people who listening to the show, who tune in every day, are kind of dialed in that, things are really, screwed up, right? And that we need to remedy the situation. I agree that we need to educate folks to what Farrakhan was saying. Well, firstly, right. When you make a demand, you're making a demand. I'm not negotiating anything. I'm demanding something. But we need to educate, right? Keep talking about that. We need to educate. There's some, I guess, Farrakhan, if we looked at it and said, what is priority number one, right? So usually when I attack a situation, I go, what is primary, what's secondary, and what things are tertiary that I could, get done. But what needs to be done right now? Because the patient is bleeding out. So what needs to be done right now? And
stop the bleeding.
Yes. And that's what so right now, what needs to be done? What, Darren Martin, what would you say is the tourniquet? The one thing, right?
For me, the thing that needs to be done is we have to, as I always say, separate. We have to separate our community from their influence. And then we can sit down and teach us how to vote, or the understanding of what the proper, I don't want to say proper way, but the purpose of voting is in our society, right? And then we can, build outreach. Because as long as you cannot have your enemy at the table with you while you're trying to figure out what we want. You don't do that. You never include the foe in your plan. Or in your planning, I should say. But that's all we have to do. Do that. Like, we sit down with.
Okay, wait, no. I don't want to get into it. I don't want the whole lecture about it.
I'm not gonna.
I don't want.
Until we get both of us for that, we're gonna be having.
So you're saying the tourniquet. So you're saying the patient's bleeding out, right? And the tourniquet for you is separation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, Darren, what would you say the tourniquet is?
I'm sorry, you asking me?
Yeah.
I concur. I was over here smiling. I totally concur with what the Farrakhan just said. Concur completely.
So Darren, question to piggyback on that. Would the first thing as a union person, what would y'all say if this was a union issue in a group that said we didn't like management and our management being our government? What would be the first thing that you would tell them to do?
Well, in union, it's a lot different because, and I wish I knew this before I moved here, we don't vote for our mayor in union, which is something we're working on now.
No, not union and township. Union being union laboring.
Oh, labor union. Oh, you're talking about the labor union. Okay.
Labor union.
Oh,
sorry.
Labor union. Oh, okay. Well, labor union got a long way to go, because first we got to deal with the first thing I think we have to deal with labor unions is you still have at the top of a high percentage of unions. I don't know what the percentage is. I guess I'll do some research on it. White, pale, instead people at the top. Although when you look at their membership is predominantly black. But at the top of those higher positions is mostly white, pale, and stale people. That's the first thing I would tell unions to work on.
So then the first thing that we should be requesting in governments and corporations is a change in diversity, and really including, there should be a certain percentage to represent corporations that represent the community or whoever they're servicing or customers.
Well, if I could add to what you're saying, Diane, I agree that we should push for diversity, but we should not let them choose which black person that would represent us. We should be able to choose it ourselves. One of the big problems that we run into is that these people, our enemies, get to choose who represents us, and they sell us out 9 out of 10 times.
I'm going to agree with Vince right there, but the reason is because we include them at the table. See, that's the problem. Our enemy is helping us or giving us our choice. We got to get them out of the table, separate from them, and then we can do it ourselves. But we can't do it if they're influencing. So you're dead right, Nick. Right? They are giving it to us, but they're only giving it to us just to keep letting them be in the conversation.
Correct. So once again, we are not demanding anything. We're taking what they give us. We need to change that mindset now.
Right. You demand it. We've already said that. And a demand isn't a negotiation. Get out my house.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Eric?
Yep. No, I'm listening. So yeah, for me, the tourniquet to this thing, to begin to stop the bleeding, because I just don't know. I'm not saying that somewhere down the road you create or as you're working on a secondary or tertiary step to create some sort of separation, if that is what's deemed necessary, that doesn't occur. But while you're trying to separate, right, all of these issues that are impacting us just continue to impact us, right? So my concern is, if you look at a timeline of separation, by the time you get to that point, where will the patient be? What will be the condition of the patient at the point that you finally get to the separation? And so I think that to preserve health and life of the patient, as you're looking to do that thing, there need to be some more immediate steps that have to happen. And I think that those immediate steps are at the local level of government, right? Which is why I keep saying I'm not looking at the federal level. These mayors, these council people, they can take some very immediate steps to begin to assist, right? Even if you're working over here on a transition to separate, these local politicians, these local lawmakers could work to keep a lifeline, right? Or keep the patient intubated, if you will, right? While we're looking to separate. But if you don't have that intubation, then the patient's going to die. The patient's going to die before the separation occurs.
I think in New Jersey, the first step that they need to take is to go back to the Homicide Commission and enforce it. Make it so that all elementary, high school, middle school, colleges have Black history, and not just for some students, but for all students, and for the teachers.
Agreed.
That's something immediate that can happen, like tomorrow. It'll start with the September curriculum.
Yeah, I think Black history should be every day, not just, February. But if I could, in terms of what I would do to make for a tourniquet,
mm-hmm.
I would revise a reparation bill, which actually includes things like 1, economic help, 2, easy access for businesses and loans, 3, make it a modified hate crime to actually federally prosecute people for bias, racism, or any of those unjust bills that they have acted against us. Restore a criminal justice system with 1, bringing in more Black judges, 2, reviewing some of these cases, and if there is bias or if there is intimidation or any leverage racially that they have, releasing them and paying them for locking them up, and 3, most important, doing something with these small towns where these white cops could just stop pulling us over and getting $200 out of us every time we got to go to court. That would be my tourniquets. Oh, I'm sorry. And I agree with Diane with school as well, including that in the process. We have to now start attacking the source instead of treating these symptoms. The biggest source that we have, and the reason that their knee is on our neck, is because of this institutional, systematic racism.
You were doing good, Vince, and then you went 3 sentences too long.
Okay. Well, I got 3 sentences up, and I'll be in Diane's good favor.
Hey, can we? I know this name barely ever gets mentioned, right? But I've always respected what he tried to do, and he's one of you been wiped out of black history. Barely ever hit the best thing done. Mayor Jackson. That man created the black city model that we try to say. I mean, Negroes is being Negroes for sure in the land. But if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have this new black Mecca we call that man. And his model of what it was he was saying is what we have all said today on this show. And his name never gets spoken. He never gets held up to the standard in which he should. Now, we can say, yeah, years as a politician, I'm sure he's got some negative dirt. I ain't even questioning. But I know that man should be a black hero, and he isn't. And that's part of our problem because, as they said, and as everybody said, people letting these other people and negotiating with them. Right? That's a man who gave us a formula that 30 years later, everybody trying to move to black and trying to make some moves, business projects, trying to go at it. He knew that until you got the money issue right, until you got the percentages right, until, okay, you had a black down, and then whatever employment, whatever business, whatever federal money, whatever city money, it needs to be based on population. Population is majority black. So should that job, so should those contracts. And that's how we do it. We got to get the money. You can do all those other things, but it don't matter without the money. Most people ain't never changed much enough.
Well, we did the thing with the money. And there are some issues with the money. I think with the money should come a level of counseling and training, because the only thing that's going to happen if we just give people money blindly is that they just once again become blind consumers. And, you know, everybody getting their big flat screens and they roll. And
wait a minute. What are you talking about? What money needs to be monitored, Vincent?
Well,
when you say giving money to who?
When we're talking about reparations and giving money.
Okay, so you want to tell me how to use my money? You can't tell me what to do with my money.
No.
You can't tell. I can't tell you how to spend your check if you want to buy a big screen TV or an electric bicycle.
That's not where I was going. What I was saying is this: is that if we're going to do that, then we should give them some training and additional information so that they have options of understanding how to make their money powerful and work for them, rather than just going out and blindly being a consumer. Now, look, I understand when people get money, yeah, it's time for me to, step my game up. It's time for a come up. But a portion of that, not all of that. A majority of it should actually be used to work for you, so you're not working as hard, or putting something in a situation where you can gain or set up something where you're now putting your family in a position to have generational wealth, so that we can stop being at Eric's list called the bottom.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I mentioned earlier about weaponizing our dollars. And as you eloquently said just now, Vince, we got to deal with the financial literacy piece, because until we teach people what to do with the dollar, just blindly giving them money is just like us blindly going to vote for these candidates that don't represent us.
Hey, Darren, is it that we need financial literacy and education? I'm not saying that we don't. Or is it that we need infrastructure? And by infrastructure, I mean financial infrastructure. In other words, we need 10 ways for the black dollar to circulate the black city. I don't care if black people speak money. As long as they spend it, or they have the option to spend it with other black people. See, what we have done is we are in a country in which we don't have the option to spend it easily amongst the spread out nation, where the dollar circulates repeated among black people, where it goes out.
That's part of the financial literacy that he was talking about. So could you finish with the other point, Darren? I was kind of liking it.
Yeah, so, and don't get me wrong, Farrakhan's right. As Eric always says, be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So it has to be, everything we do as Black people has to be multifaceted. So somebody on this end is doing a letter writing campaign. Somebody over here is doing the emails. Somebody's dealing with the day-to-day operations. Somebody's dealing with going door to door and actually talking to the people. Somebody's doing the gatherings or the house meetings, etc. This is how most organizations and effective organizations are built over the years. And like we're on this phone right here, there's going to be disagreements about how to get there, how to get to certain destinations. But long as we end up on the same road, or at least that same destination, I think we'll be fine. But we got to get started, because all of us on this phone, the ages that we're at, we probably won't live to see it come to fruition.
Right.
But we can at least plant that seed now, so our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids, etc., generations from now, they'll be able to get something done.
Well, you know what, Darren? What I'm going to say is this. I think that one of the very first things that we have to be committed to doing is literally removing those who are within our community who are working against our interests. We have to move them out of the way, because they keep slowing us down, right, or distracting us. So, you know, I mean, I really do. I think that has to be that has to be up top. I don't know if it's the top thing, but it has to be up there, where we have to have a zero tolerance, within our community. Because if we can't do that, how are we going to fight some enemy somewhere else? So we got all of this here in our own communities, and we can't even resolve it.
Eric?
Yep.
Well,
What did your dad say, Eric?
No, I understand, which is what I'm saying. So we got to get rid of them. We got to let them die. We got to stop resuscitating.
No, you got to vote out Cory Booker. You got to vote out, what's this other dummy that just sent something to my house? Donald Payne Jr. You got to vote out Angela Garrison in Union County. People have to start saying the names and vote them out.
Well, Eric Dixon says, and I agree. Eric Dixon says it.
I don't give a crap.
All right.
See, that's the problem.
That's where you vote.
Stop.
Don't interrupt her. Let her talk. Give her her minute.
But this is where we get caught up in, who do we vote in? You can vote in other people if y'all got together and elected other people. They don't have to have ballots. You could do a write-in campaign. I know other people who've done write-in campaigns and won elections. So who do we vote in? You vote in somebody that you choose yourself. You stop choosing what they give to you and vote out everybody that's in now, because they have done nothing to help you.
No, you're 100% right, Diane.
Not you individually, but you as a whole.
Maybe I'm not making myself clear. It's not that I'm saying that you can't write in somebody. I'm saying, who is that? Who give me the person that has come up with a true plan, who's a sincere person to replace Cory Booker with. That's what I'm saying.
Wait. All right, so here we go, Farrakhan.
No. Did you just hear me 3 minutes ago?
Wait.
When you said I was doing good up until the 3 minutes?
All right.
I'm running against Cory Booker.
Vince. So what I'm going to say to you is this, Farrakhan.
I'm so insulted.
Farrakhan.
Screaming now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Farrakhan, here's what I'm going to say to you, right? So what Diane said is true. 3 years ago, I worked with some folks in Newark, right, who didn't like who the chairperson was, the ward chairperson was, and they wanted to replace him. So they say, hey, Eric, what we want to do is we want to run a strictly write-in campaign to replace the district leaders that are here, right? We're going to put our people in. We're going to identify them. So a group of people got together and said, we're identifying who we want to be our district leaders, and then we're going to have enough of them that when we vote for a chairperson, we can get the chairperson we want. So what we did, right, and so your brother, in fact, was the Republican chairperson of the South Ward, right?
Yeah, he was.
Right. No. So let me finish. And so they wanted to replace him, and so Doug Freeman called me and said, "Look, what we're going to do is we're going to run this person and 5 or 6 or however many other people. Eric, can you help?" Yep. So they ran them. each of those district leaders only needed an average of 5 votes to win. And they were write-ins. They weren't on a ballot. So they knocked on doors. This group of people in the South Ward of Newark took the initiative and organized and knocked on doors, got an average of 5 votes for each of those district leaders. Come election day, the machine looked up and realized, oh shit, because they weren't on the ballot. So the machine didn't know those people were running, but they wrote them in. And then when it was all over, these people with 5 votes were all district leaders, and then they voted out the existing chairman and voted in Doug Freeman. So to answer the question, Farrakhan, you just get a handful of people together and say we're going to do it, right? So you don't have to wait for somebody to present themselves. Get 20 people together and say, hey, we want that person to be our new fill in the blank, and then go to work to make it happen.
You know what you just said, Eric? You just said Darren's point, and I respect that, right? You just said you have to understand the vote, and if you understand, see that's how it was done, right? Because those group of people that you knew understood voting.
Right, but Farrakhan, don't take more than 20 people.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm totally agreeing with you.
But Farrakhan,
I'm just saying that.
Farrakhan,
Darren's point.
Farrakhan, but listen to what I'm saying to you. It doesn't take. Look, I'm gonna lay this out, and I laid this out maybe 2 years ago, and Kevin Jenkins grabbed me in the studio and said, "Eric, don't." I'm gonna lay this out for you, Farrakhan. When you got a mayor in Irvington who can win with 1,900 votes, right? Not a disparity of 1,900, total 1,900 votes. When you have the mayor of Montclair, Mr. Jackson, Mayor Jackson, I don't know if he's still the mayor. But when he won with 1,400 votes. When you can have the mayor of Orange win with a couple thousand votes, right? When you can have that, all you need, Farrakhan, is 20 dedicated people to go knock on doors. You don't need to have an army of 1,000 people. So I'm saying we're 20 people. But listen, so here's the challenge. And Darren and Diane, they're both on the phone. Yesterday I had on my Walk the Walk t-shirt commemorating Walk the Walk. Right? We try to get people to come out and walk, knock on doors. We couldn't get it. See, I'm not talking about thousands of people, Farrakhan. 20 dedicated people could change it all. Listen, and I'm going to use another really quick example. My brother Darren, when he ran for Central Ward Councilman against Charlie Bell, who was entrenched and supported by Cory Booker, with all the Cory Booker money. You know who was on Darren's team? It was me, my brother, my sister, my father, my aunts. We were there late nights. And Darren had made a commitment that he was going to walk the entire Central Ward twice and knock on doors. And we won by 11 votes. See, it can be done. You don't need an army of people. You need a few dedicated people. And I've always said, I'm down. My hand is up. But when I look behind me, Farrakhan, as I'm going into that dark alley to do battle, there are very few people with me. And the ones who start off with me, they cut and run. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we gotta identify those who are cutting and running, and we gotta kick them off the island. Right? And then we got to identify some people who got some goddamn backbone. Willing to stand up.
Next time you wanted to walk the walk, Eric, next time you wanted to walk the walk, please don't do it on Saturday. That was my problem. I was like, that's my main day of the week.
Oh, no, listen. I know that you... Listen, Farrakhan.
So the next time, Sunday, I don't care. But when you talk Saturdays to Saturdays, I'm like, damn, so I can help you, but I can't give. So I wouldn't mind being there, is what I'm saying. I'll walk the walk. I got to do it on the day after Saturday. I'm sorry.
But my point to you is this. But my only point to you is this. And Darren can attest to what happened in Union when they unseated all of those elected
district leaders.
Right up there in Union. Those guys walked. I mean, you didn't have armies of people, did you, Darren? You just had dedicated people.
No, we had a handful of us. Because me alone. I knocked on over 300 doors in my district by myself. And I got a couple of other volunteers to come help me on certain days, but most of the time it was me. But it was just a matter of pressing the flesh and talking to the people, and we won 16 of those district leader seats. And by the time the organized party looked up, they said, "Oh my gosh, what happened?"
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. So you could create a shift, Farrakhan, in politics with just 20, 25 dedicated people. You could do it. It could happen. Look, what's his name? And you heard me talk bad about him because he deserves it. Marquise Lewis, when he was on the Board of Education. But when Marquise Lewis first ran, I was impressed. In fact, I supported him. And he actually called the show and said, "Man, you're dogging me out, but you supported me." But you changed, right? I didn't change, you changed. And so I'm talking about how you changed and how you're now dogging the community out. But when he first ran, right, he ran against the entire machine. The entire machine. And you know what that young man did? He went and knocked on doors. He didn't have money. He was borrowing money to get paper, to print, to Xerox his flyers on. He had green paper, yellow paper, he had pink paper. So he wasn't even coordinated. But he just knew, I just need to go knock on doors. So we could talk about financial literacy and all these other kinds of things. If you don't have commitment, none of that matters.
When I ran for freeholder and had the problem with the Republican Party and decided to go against the grain, I had 4 people who were committed with me, and we lost by 2,000 votes. But yet, we're talking about 4 people amassing over 27,000 votes. It doesn't take a large army. It just takes those people who are committed to the fight.
And I think that while we're waiting to build the long army, right, the big army, because that's what we're doing, right? We're waiting to somehow, like, all of a sudden have this massive room with thousands of people in it who are singularly focused on something. No. Even the founders of this country, right? How many of them was it? How many of them was it? Got in a room and said, "No, let's get this done."
Okay.
So you don't need to start it. You don't need to have you just need a handful of committed people who say, "You know what, we're down by hook or crook. We're gonna get this done."
Because Jesus Christ changed the world with just 12 people to start. You just need people who are committed to the cause. People who are just sick and tired of being sick and tired and want to do what they can to make a change. People who are just, saying that, you know what, I can't have my children and my grandchildren living in this world the way it is today. And it's up to me to make that change. That's all it takes.
But part of the challenge in our community, in fact, you've witnessed this, right? This has been this whole experience for me has been very, very enlightening. And you've witnessed some of it through this platform, right? We try to engage and empower people, inform, engage, and empower people. And we've empowered some people. We've made some differences. We've had folks who have had the proverbial knee of the institution on their necks, and we brought the institution to their knees in order to bring justice to individuals over the course of us doing this show. Those individuals, though, Farrakhan, right? They were not honest brokers. That's the word I'll use. They were not honest brokers. Their intent was never about the community. Their intent was self-serving. And as soon as they got a come up, they showed their true hand. And so part of what we have to do is, so when we talk about what's the consequence for the politician, we got to talk about what's the consequence for them. See, but we allow them to live among us after they do that to us, right? We let them stay here. We defend them. Oh, they're not that bad. Oh, and we make all these excuses. We have to recognize that behavior, that dishonest disingenuous behavior as being more than just dishonest and disingenuous, but dangerous. And we have to remove them too. We have to clearly define what the consequence is. You come here, you want us to leverage, because now what you're asking us to do is take time away from trying to build to assist you, right? And the assumption is that you're part of the team, and that, you know, when we do this, you're going to reach back and give back. When you don't, there's got to be a consequence, right? You got to know when you come here and you're asking for assistance, you're asking for that there's something attached to it. And when you don't deliver that thing that's attached to it, we got to come at you with a 2x4 upside the back of your goddamn head. And we don't do that.
I like it.
But we don't do
That's
but,
cool, but that's all I've been asking.
Right.
That's all I've been saying. What is the consequence of not only your help, but your demands? Everything has to have consequence, right? Nothing worth doing doesn't have a consequence. Correct. Right? You know what I'm saying? It has to happen. So I don't care if it's who. So every aspect of this, it has to have one. Everybody that joins, that says I'm down, and then does something funny after they get in, or fails to do their part, there got to be a consequence to them. Like, you know, there's a consequence for everything. So my thing is, we need to know what those consequences are going to be. Right? We need to be so that people understand, because it's also the way you check you. Right? People move based on the consequence. Like, there's some things that, well, I didn't do it because I knew the consequence. I was like, man, I ain't going to do that because I know what happens if it goes wrong. So you walk away from it. Right? And the other things, I'm like, I ain't worried about that. You know what I'm saying? Things like, yo, if that happens, so what? I don't worry about that. I'm good. You're going to do it anyway.
And you have to know it. As we discussed earlier and said it earlier, see, the consequences involved with these politicians is the simple fact of this. We are now realizing our power. We are now realizing the simple fact that we have
Wait. Who's realizing power?
Oh, okay. Nobody realizes that they have economic power now?
Who?
Okay, well, okay, but anyway, before we start sidetracking my actual comment, can I finish it?
Go ahead.
The consequence, again, would be this. If they are not living up to their promises that they gave us, we will now organize against them, not voting for them. And we will now organize against the people who have been financially supporting them. We will start boycotting these corporations. We will start protesting and marching on these certain groups. We will start actually petitioning that people now be removed, impeached, or just being not fit. Our voice, our individual power, and our dollars is our biggest consequence for these people who are supposed to be serving us. When we start realizing, as they said, that, you know what, we are the labor force, and they want us to go back in the midst of the disease, that we have power. When we start realizing that people are now crying because we're not spending our dollars in their stores, that we have power. When we start taking that power and leveraging it for our advantage, now we have power.
Right. So you started your statement by saying we recognize that we have power, and I asked you, who's the we that recognizes that?
Okay. Who on this phone right now recognizes?
Oh, you're talking about
power in our vote?
Oh, no. I'm saying so. You're talking about the five of us.
Okay.
We know we do.
Okay, so now everybody knows that in media, there's the thing called the representation multiplier. So that basically means that if you get a bad letter from one person, that is represented by 5,000 to 10,000 people. So that's five of us, which means that there is a strong chance that multiplying the five of us times 5 to 10,000 people, that's 25 to 50,000 people at the sound of our voice that recognize that they have power.
Well, take my 5,000 out because my people are still fighting me. They just
then you know what? Take my 5,000 out. Take my 5. I'll tell you, Vincent. Listen, my 5,000 is.
The problem was like, and I agree with you, right? But here's the problem: the way we boycott, right? And I don't think we haven't learned from boycott, right? That's another thing, right? We don't learn from our past successes or study, right? So we haven't learned that if you boycott and you can survive a year without Aunt Jemima syrup, let's just say, then you don't have to go back to Aunt Jemima syrup, where Aunt Jemima syrup does what you wanted them to do in the first place. What are you talking about? Continue on. Continue on. Like, you don't do that. After 18 months of being up on them, we jump back on it. Right? Come on. Be fair, get it out. Right? And that's the problem. So our economic power, if all anybody has to do to fight out our economic power is say okay, then it doesn't matter. We have to build something of our own.
Okay, well, let's look at, we don't realize we have economic power. P. Diddy had Chris Style publicly and personally apologize to him. Jesse Jackson had Coca-Cola change the entire structure of their corporation by boycotting. Nike, oh God, just to mention what Kyrie Irving said, and LeBron James had now said that, okay, we're going to start giving millions away to helping people with Black Lives Matter and criminal injustice. We don't realize that we have power?
So what I'm saying to you again is this. We can list individuals who recognize, right? Like, I recognize that you do, and that Darren does, and I recognize that Farrakhan understands how to leverage whatever economic power he has, and Diane, right? And Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, and, you know, yeah. But I'm saying as a team, Vincent, no, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay. And you may be correct with that. But did we not talk about all it takes is a dedicated few to build momentum?
No, right. Listen, what I'm saying is this. A dedicated few that are organized. So I'm not organized with Kyrie or with LeBron, and I don't know that the two of them are organized with each other in whatever the effort is that they're embarking on. Let's take this call. Hello, caller. Hello?
No, I got cut off on the island.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I don't know that they're organized, that there's some concerted effort, right? So they may be doing some individual things, but I think that there needs to be some organized effort, right?
And that's the part that we're working on, organizing the effort, the grassroots.
Oh, okay.
The ground zero.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so hey, look,
My
I'm
root
in
beer
this
is
fight.
chilling, and I'm waiting.
I'm in this fight. All I want to know is this. And in fact, this is what happened when I talked to my group last night. I expressed to them, look, I'm in this fight. And in this fight, you know, being the lead person running for Senate, there's going to be some attacks. So what I want to know is this. Are you going to have my back? Because this ain't going to be the race for no sissies. This is going to be the race that people are going to have intestinal fortitude because we're going up against a powerful machine. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but I am saying that we stick to it, we can win.
Yeah. That's what you should be saying. So now that you brought up Vince, LeBron, and Kyrie, I want to know what everybody's feelings is about that whole. I guess I'll call it a spat that they have in where LeBron is the king, and everybody usually looks at what he says, etc. And the NBA usually follows what he says. He's saying they need to be playing. Kyrie's saying, and Kyrie and a group of people saying they shouldn't be playing because it distracts from what's going on, and we should be demanding this and demanding that, or just starting our own league. I want to hear you guys' position on that.
So can I start?
Your name is on the marquee.
We are. So let's start off by saying this, right? All together now. We are and have always been the commodity to their wealth and power. So, having said that, I say to end their power, we have to stop being the commodity. So, not playing starts that process of ending their power. If you go and play, all you're doing, part of it is distracting, but you're feeding the very beast that we're all saying we have to destroy. Right? So yes, it requires for some, and I know, some guys Because I know this, every athlete's not making what LeBron James is making. So you got some basketball players who are making $100,000 a year, right? And they're trying to figure out how to pay their mortgage. I got that. But there's got to be, at some point, people have to be willing to make sacrifice. And those who are not willing to make a sacrifice, what they're saying is they're trying to drag you back on the plantation. And those who you won't let die won't let you live. They'd rather drag you back on the plantation so that they could eat a little bit than to sacrifice so that everybody can at some point eat a lot. And so I agree. I think that they should. I don't think that they should be playing.
I think if they start playing, it will be a distraction, and not only for the players, but for the people that are now going to be sitting in front of the TV, or the boob tube, what they used to say, watching them run up and down the court, throw a ball into a hole, instead of staying focused. But I also understand on the flip side, of course, like you said, there are some that need to be back at work because that is their job, is to do that, to pay their bills. It's like everybody else. So you're kind of stuck. Either you go back to work and work for the man, or you create your own and work for yourself. And that should be part of the plan that they should be working on now. But then you have all of these contracts that they're locked into that won't allow them to do that. And may cost them more to come out of the contract than it would be to stay working for the man. So what do? Feed yourself, or save yourself, or save everybody else?
Well, that's the same dilemma that a lot of America was looking at when Donald Trump was saying we need to open up the economy. Forget the disease, forget your life being at risk. We need to open up the economy so that we can so that my friends can save their wealth. So people were now faced with that same dilemma that you said. Do I need to feed my family, or do I need to stick to the principles and save my life?
Wow.
Farrakhan? Well, for myself, I believe they should play. And I see they should be playing in their own league. So I would say, I'm going to go with the side of Kyrie that says, let's create our own league. See, I don't think we have to stop playing basketball. It's not so much that it's a distraction of basketball. Again, we're trying to create economic wealth. So let's just make, a league that we control and we own, right? And then keep the dollars that way. Because if you got a $5 billion NFL TV rights contract, right, with NBC, and if you have a black-owned league, and we've got that, right? We've got a $5 billion contract, and then we can use that to employ black people and pay black people. So that's what we need to do. We don't have to stop playing basketball. First of all, let's be clear. Ain't nobody going to stop playing basketball. We can talk about it, but like as if that's going to really happen. But it's not. And one thing we learned about Colin Kaepernick, I always mess up his name, I apologize, okay, is one thing is for sure. Negroes going to watch some football. They're going to watch some sport. It doesn't matter how they feel about it. They're going to do that. So we're not even going to play that game. Playing that game is masturbation. But what we can do, right, is create our own. So let's create our own. I'm always with that.
So I got a question for you there, Farrakhan, because Kyrie Irvin, and for this season, I think he's vice president for the Players Union. The 150 or so players he had on the call with him, it appears that the majority of them is going to be siding with him and not playing. That could really make LeBron look bad. Do you think that they just kind of saying they with him right now, they're not going to be with him? Because I think it's going to be impactful. And at the same time, before you answer, I agree with Eric. I think they're feeding the beast. The same beast we're trying to get rid of, you're feeding them if you go out there and play. I think they leverage their power by not playing and put those rich-ass white owners on notice.
Okay, but again, doesn't it create not only the same effect of stepping out of the league, creating for OD, but doesn't it create that same effect of messing with their money, also empowering and making us financially strong?
Well, no, they should. So yes, I don't have an issue with him.
Boycotting, and then turning around as soon as they have a business from them. Okay, that is comfortable for them, because they're not going to do it in a way that's they're going to do it in a way that it works for keep forgetting that. Like, I don't want to work. I can work for white people right now. I don't want to. I would rather struggle my way. I would rather do it this hard way. And I'm saying that every black person, take their talent and use it for yourself. My uncle asked me on Facebook, Fark, do you have any suggestions on what black folks need to do? And so I said, okay, I'm going to start putting suggestions up. And that was one of my suggestions. Take their talent. Stop giving it to somebody else. And use it for yourself. Right? Stop letting somebody else determine whether or not you are a $20 an hour plumber or whether or not you feel like you're a $50 an hour. That's on you. Get it all. That's what we have to do. Power is the only thing that power is going to recognize. So, with that said, black folks, listen, come on out that league. We got one over here. We got 150 million here. And I know Eric said some of the jokes needs the money. I think the minimum contract for the NBA, I don't care if you're a rookie, I don't care what, it's $500,000.
Oh, I'm
right?
wrong.
So ain't nobody hurt at that. Like, that's your minimum. I don't care what play. You the guy at this time in the roster, your contract is $500,000 a year. Or better. Right? I know it's that, but the NFL is $600,000.
But Farrakhan, here's the problem. The problem is a lot of those players, what we talked about earlier, don't have financial literacy. So how many stories do you see where they're making this, and this, that they went out and bought a house with 11 bedrooms and a basketball court and a bowling alley and a movie theater, and now they got so much credit out there where they was anticipating that money. So that's a little different. A lot of them don't understand money. Those young guys get the money. They got some nice salaries, but they don't understand the money.
Darren, you're absolutely right. But you also have to remember, when it comes to financial investing and having your Series 63 and to be able to do those investments for them, there are only a certain percentage of people that get into to be able to get into an athlete, to be able to help them with their financial management. They got to
and that, like, 2 years ago, Diane, I just learned that about 2 years ago, 3 years at the most, I was watching a show, and apparently, in order to be an accountant, like for an NFL player, you have to be qualified by the NFL. They tell them who they can put their money.
It's the same thing when they were having the fight when, I believe it was LeBron James was having a fight about his sports manager, his management team. They have a system so freaking tight. They don't allow, there's so many rules and policies, they don't allow black people in at all. And if they do, you got one or two. So when you're talking about they should start their own, the Women's Basketball League did, they should start their own. Put their money together, and there's other investors out there who are not white, who will contribute into the system. And I think they should have their own. Why keep giving back money?
That's right. And to answer your question, the league minimum for the first year is $1.4 million.
Damn! You know what I'm saying? Like, so can't nobody in the NBA that told me they signed a rookie contract, okay, and then paid for a year, cry about how broke they are. I don't care what. If you got $1 million in 1 year, $1.4 million in 1 year, even if you had to give away about 40% of that, I suppose, right? So you're still coming in right under $1 million.
Now we're talking about collective power.
Or that you tell me you got $1 million in a single year and you still get it off, and you got it legit. I understand why with building it, but if you're jerking it off,
exactly.
That's on you. You're useful.
Exactly.
I'm waiting my $1 million year suggestion.
So looking at what he said is that we've got enough collective power and financial power and that we could buy attorneys and start our own league and hire black coaches and really do, like the ABA only better. I think that's a very accurate and true statement. And he's scaring the crap out of all these white people right now.
Yep.
I believe that I have to go along with him because the math does work. And as Diane said, that makes it more of an inclusion of these black agents and attorneys who can represent them. Which gives us more power. That's more of an inclusion of them being more entrepreneurs and choosing who they can use to endorse them. And instead of endorsing these large brands that they, give them exclusive contracts, then use them to help small businesses. You know, they can endorse Diane Murray's insurance.
Right. Now, staying in that same...
Go ahead.
Yeah, finish.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Staying in that same vein, we talking about power, economics, etc. What's you guys' position on this whole theme of defunding the police? Because it means a lot of different things, and I think people I see mayors coming out and saying things like Raz Baraka. They still have a consent decree from police being inappropriate in Newark. That was signed years ago and put in place years ago. I see Jersey City mayor coming out and saying, like Raz did, that he don't agree with it, and he got a horrible police force over there that's doing inappropriate things to police brutality. I want to know you guys' position on this whole defunding of police, because I think people just means that, they think it means that everybody's talking about getting rid of the police. Nobody on this phone can tell me that you can't reallocate some of that, those millions they're getting to go somewhere else that can help out with de-escalation of residents and really doing some real meaningful things in the community. But I want to hear you guys' points of views on that.
Hey, can I just say one thing real quick? Darren, I'm guilty. I was one of those people that when I first pulled up, like, I got free. And then as I understood it, I was like, okay, but now here's my thing. Do you really need to defund the police or just the police department? That's funny. So that you give schools more? I don't think so. They want to give the schools more money, they can do that. You don't have to defund the police to do that. That's my thing.
Well, the simple thing is this, and what we're running into, and I know that Diane could probably confirm or, you know, straighten the concept out a lot more than I could. One of the biggest issues that we run into is that the huge power with the police is that they have the union and in their negotiations. So, in eliminating that power, that disposable income that they pay into the dues, or changing their contracts, so that we can get these bad police off. No, I'm not into defunding, but you can reallocate things like, you know, and not reallocate to schools, but reallocate to, you know, more social programs sponsored by the police. At one point in time, we used to have the Police Athletic League that did a great deal with your tax dollars and police help. We also need a great deal of more inferences and developing a stronger infrastructure so that we can now start to trust the police and that they can stop being warriors and aggressive towards our children, but understand that this is community involvement and be a shield of protection. We need to actually not give police officers a great deal of money so that they become more militarized with tanks, tear gas, assault weapons, and become more actual shields and guards to our children in school. Instead of teaching them how to lock up a child, give them the understanding that they can also change their way of thinking by letting them know the consequences of their actions. Get back to community policing instead of them being warriors just reacting.
Three sentences too much.
Oh, my bad. Thank you for cutting me off.
So, in regards to defunding the police department, like you said, people are very confused as to defunding the police department means eliminating the police department. That's not what it means. What should happen is there should be an audit done on all police departments, depending on the city, some smaller, some larger. There is a misallocation of funds. And a lot of the funds in a lot of departments, top heavy, comes into salaries. Now, when you look at salaries in the police department, you're looking at people with longevity. There's some things that comes with longevity, and that's ingrained in some of them, racism. Some of those things need to be transitioned out, and we need to be honest about who they are and make it happen. The other thing in regards to defunding is that when you talk about military equipment and all of that type of stuff, the majority of that stuff is not personally funded through the police department funds. That's funded through a separate line item that specifically that can be purchased through state or government or army equipment, because we've done it in the township of Hillside. They've been, they sell all types of stuff. They sell tankers. They sell water
cannons.
They sell all kinds of stuff. So people shouldn't get caught up in, they're buying military stuff. They're not buying military guns and they ain't doing all that, because they're not selling that stuff to cities. But there are other equipment that they are buying, of course. But like Vincent said, the money should be really allocated towards more community-based, more education for the police officers, mental health services for the police officers, because while we're all pointing our fingers at police officers and they're doing bad things, they're also under a lot of stress. And I don't know about you and how many guys you know, but I know a lot of police officers, and personally, and a lot of them is beating their wives and or husbands or spouses because they come home with anger and aggression and they got short fuses. So there's a lot of mental health issues that need to be addressed on the police side. So it's a reallocation of money, and then it needs to be an audit of the money that's being used in those departments.
That's good. Eric, where you stand on it?
Thank you, Diane. That's exactly what I wanted to say.
So I think that that you could certainly reallocate some money. I don't know how much, but I think that there should be an audit, of the police budgets. I do agree with what Vincent is saying. The issue begins though with loosening the leverage that the union has to continue to promote behavior that that is in some cases criminal, right? So they need to do that. But yeah, I have no issue with defunding and reallocating in order to get to the root of the problem. Let's take this call. Hold on. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Is this Grandma Emma?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to call you back. I'm on the air right now doing a radio show. But give me a second,
Okay.
and I'll give you a call back.
No problem with you. I think.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm calling.
All right. So that's how I feel about that, Darren. I feel that they should definitely defund, and then use some of the money for other kinds of programs.
Right. And I agree. And I agree with you about the unions, because I've been having a lot of talk, being a union guy. I've been having a lot of talk about union brothers and sisters, some police officers as well. I'll be on a Zoom call tonight with some police officers as well, because their union contract in some states allow them to, if Eric Dawson is a police officer in XYZ city, and he's part of this union, and our contract we'll have where after 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, we can throw away and eliminate any complaints and records against him and just throw them away, and nobody will know about it.
That's absolutely right.
That's why if you look at what happened in Minnesota, that guy had 17 or 18 complaints against him, but nobody knew that except the police brass and the union and the city, but nobody else knew what those complaints were because it wasn't public information. And that's why you see a big outcry around the country where I think close to us here now in New York, across the water, Cuomo signed the bill that will make all of that stuff public. Because this should be public information. I shouldn't have to do a Oprah search to find out if this officer has any complaints against him or her. That should be public information, because they are, at the end of the day, still public servants.
Right.
And people have to realize that they are public servants, and people keep forgetting that.
Yes, I mean, just like you have to direct.
Public Oprahs and stuff like that. I think it's important, even with the police department, that those records should be held outside of the county. I don't think if there was an issue with a Hillside Union County cop,
Please mute
that
your phone.
Hillside should be holding the records for that person. I think it should be somewhere else, because there comes the issue when we go for these Oprahs and request the information that the township clerk, who is being overseen by the chairperson or the mayor or the council, won't release the information because they're in cahoots with the police officer. So I think there should be, and if not outside, then more than one location where those records should be held.
And if I could add to what Diane's saying, and you as well, what we need to do is in there, and part of that
de-escalating process is eliminate their qualified immunity and being able to prosecute them, letting them know that there are consequences to their actions, setting up people and giving them lots of actual years in prison because the police officer placed drugs on them, or even lying about what they actually saw and witnessed. And, you know, we have to now get to the point where cops are supposed to be the good guys, and they should be acting like it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So listen. Wait.
Shouldn't that database just be like the internet or something? Like should you just be able to go and Google a police department?
Sure, just like a sex offender.
Like on a website? And
Yeah, it should be like
officers have been just...
It should be just like the sex offender sites, right?
No, it should be just like any other public figure. You should be able to actually look them up and their records.
So, but listen,
Right.
we got like 13 minutes to go. Sunday's Father's Day.
Oh, Lord.
And wait a minute. And see, I should have given the whole 2 hours to talk about Father's Day. See, we don't. See,
We talking about saving our fathers, so we did talk about it.
Here we go.
see, wait.
Double show today.
Wait a minute. Do you see how she's trying to take our time already, guys?
Yeah.
See, soon as I said Father's Day, all of a sudden Diane.
No respect for Father's Day.
I know, right?
See, Diane, Father's
Only
Day.
day of the year you don't have to make a reservation to go into any restaurant.
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
And then you know, and I'm not trying to be misogynistic about this.
Uh-oh. Go ahead, Vince.
If you give a disclaimer, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
There you go.
Warning. The expressed opinion of Vincent Squire is not being misogynistic, or he's not trying to actually not get his Father's Day present. However, I'm really tired of ties. Okay?
Well, listen, I told my kids, I said, you know, because they call me all the time, right? Daddy, how you feeling? I'm like, you know, I'm tired. You know, they say, oh, you know, we saw the show and you looked really tired. You need to rest. I said, yeah, well, with the weather being really nice out, I'd love a hammock to be able to just hang out and relax. So I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Did they get the hint?
Yeah, I'll let you guys know on Monday. But I'm hoping
They tied it to the tree right now in the backyard. They working on it, bro.
And for my other daughter, please stop giving me the same bottle of Old Spice that I keep in the closet that you take every June.
Old Spice.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many black men you know wear Old Spice?
Only good men wear Old Spice. That's what my daddy used to wear.
Old Spice. Diana,
Total different generations.
So, but I remember.
Down there,
no ties and no Old
What
Spice.
kind of cologne you put? I said, down there, I was like, hey, you ain't gonna get off with the sheet. Gotta do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do your wives have anything, Darren and Vincent, any plans for you on Father's Day?
Oh yeah,
What do you have for me?
we're going to an exclusive French restaurant called Le Kitchen.
Oh, exclusive French restaurant.
Where you're going out,
Where else at, brother?
man?
It's in my place. It's called The Kitchen. Le Kitchen.
Oh, the kid. All right, I got. Hey, that's a good one. Cause I was gonna say, Vincent, you're daring to go out, man.
Yeah.
No. And what are you doing, Darren? Darren?
My wife said dinner, socks, and underwear. What do you think, Diane? Should I tell her she needs to do better?
No, tell her that you need to model them for her.
Socks is the best gift ever.
Yes, they are.
My grandmother used to give every man for Christmas in their birthday socks. And my father loved it because she gave them in black, brown, and blue.
No, hey Diane, what did I tell you about my socks?
I should actually show y'all a picture of the socks I get. My wife knows how much I love Batman. I got like 14 pair of Batman socks.
Hey Diane,
What in the world, Vince?
what I tell you about my socks, Diane? I got one kind of sock. I got the black gold toe socks. I don't want any other socks. They confuse me.
Oh, time to set your game up, bro. Get ready for the superhero socks coming your way.
No. No. Efficiency.
I'll send you some of mine, bro.
No.
Who do you like? Green Hornet, Flash, Superman? I got you.
No.
Eric has a mental disorder. He can only handle one color at a time.
I have a mental I do. I acknowledge it though. I have I suffer anxiety if I can't find the other sock, right? So, and then I just throw it out. And so to avoid the anxiety and all of that, my kids, Amina, everybody, my mother, my sister, they all get me gold toe black socks. That way, I don't have to pair them in the drawer. I just take them all, put them in the drawer. Because when I reach in the drawer, pull two out, they match. It's easy. See, anything else doesn't work. 1 year, she got me different socks. It just threw the whole thing. I think there was a revolt in my sock drawer.
What am I getting for Father's Day? I'm on the radio show. I'm getting nothing?
There you go. I tell you, and the disrespect continues.
I'm applauding you right now.
And the disrespect continues. I tell you.
No, right? Do you believe I just bought her a Mercedes for graduating and I get nothing?
Hey, listen.
It depends on what year. Depends on what year the Mercedes was.
2008.
No, that ain't gonna work, right, Diane?
Nah, look, bro. I ain't the type of dad that's gonna give an 18-year-old a 2500. No, that ain't gonna happen.
Man, you get nothing, Vincent. Woo!
I know, right?
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
take a picture of this nothing.
Wow. Well, listen, guys. I want everybody to enjoy, have a great weekend. I think it's supposed to rain too on Father's Day.
It is supposed to rain.
I don't know. I'm going
Father's Day is over
oil.
something.
Oh no, she just told me I'm going fishing.
I'm doing a seafood.
What happened to La Kitchen?
That's it.
After fishing.
After
Get the book.
after fishing.
Eric,
What's Farrakhan doing? Farrakhan still on?
I'm still here.
What do you get? Do you celebrate Father's Day, brother?
I'm a father. You know, I've been caring for her all damn years for the last 20 years. Yeah, I better get some. She called me. I was talking about that. She hit me with the cologne. I ain't no fuss. I said, look, only cologne I like is John Veritas or Creed. And she called me back 10 minutes later. She found out how much they cost. She was like, for real, Dad? You getting your dad? I was like, consider what I do for you and your mother, and I'm divorced from your mother. Okay, I better get a free damn these. Matter of fact, I told her I want the whole back. I said, you go up there, they're gonna do you put your back down bird house, first up to maybe do a thing. But I'm like, you're gonna get, it comes with I get a bag with it and everything.
There you go. Get the whole collection.
It come with the whole
The aftershave.
Toilet spray. I go, but it's okay. It's all coming in the kit. It didn't stick there. But I thought, hey, you know what to do. So we all see. She better treat me right because her birthday in August.
Hey, bro, that body wash is serious, though. When you get that set, that body wash is the bomb. Yeah, you're going to love it.
I better have it.
That's what I'm talking about. Demand what you want.
Well, you guys enjoy it. So,
Diane.
So, Diane.
Eric, I got this for all of y'all for Father's Day. So before we talk about the book, tell me what's your most memorable moment with your dad?
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I got several. But most people know my father or knew my father as a political figure a kingmaker, all that stuff, right? Attached to Corey and Corzine and McGreevy and all these other political figures, Gibson, his wars with Sharp James. But But I remember more humble kind of things where, you know, because it was 7 of us growing up in the house, right? I'm one of 7. And there was a time when my dad needed to have a second job. And he worked cleaning offices. So he had a government job. So everybody knew him, you know, back then it was called Dawson, right? And they knew him as that guy. But we would go down to Trenton and we would clean offices. So my brothers and I would load up in the car with my dad. We'd go down, and it would be after we finished school. And we would rotate, well, my older brothers would rotate with me, helping get my homework done, while the other one was helping my dad literally clean toilets and sinks and empty garbage cans and things like that. And so I would sit and watch people and how they admired my father for sometimes the wrong things, right? For what he could do for them, and not the man that he was. And that he was this well-rounded guy who didn't mind rolling his sleeves up and doing hard work and sometimes dirty work, recognizing that he was a dad of 7 and that he had to take care of his home. And so, you know, I reflect back on that a lot of times, because it's not, you know, the things that you do that impress people, but it's the things that you do that I guess that you know, that impress your kids, which aren't those, you know, those fancy shiny things. It's the real simple things sometimes as a dad. So yeah.
What about you, Darren?
So real quick, one fast one. My dad retired at the golden age of 55. He's now 76. And then the really one that penetrates real strong is when back in 2004, when he and I got involved into real estate, and he riding by this house, he said, "Well, I bought that one, and I bought this one, and I bought that one." It gave him a sense of pride, and eventually we collectively owned about 15 houses between us, and it was really nice. So that was a great moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Farrakhan?
A road trip to South Carolina, where my father was born. Yeah, like we took a road trip. We had to go down there because they were trying to take a house from him that he had in South Carolina, saying that he had abandoned it. And come to find out, they had put it up for sheriff's bail on his my aunt found out, you know, from the paper, like, hey, your property's up here. Even though he paid his tax and did everything, so we did this road trip, and it was like about a year before he died. And so it was probably the most time me and him had spent directly together, you know, in my adult lifetime. Like, you know, I was 30-something. And so that was just, you know, 12 hours or whatever it is, down to South Carolina on driving and just talking and learning. And I had never been as an adult or at a memorable age to South Carolina, where he was from Toluca County and, you know, down there. So just to be there with him and just look at his face as he remembered, right? Even though we didn't necessarily talk. I mean, he moved us from when he was sick. But you could see as we went through certain places what he remembered and what he liked and what he didn't. It was just an interesting time.
My dad was, you know, father of 6 kids, so he spent a great deal of time working. And, you know, I knew of my dad as, you know, of course, the disciplinarian, the leading guide of the family, the man's man that, you know, other kids would want to come and talk to for advice. So when I got older, we decided that, you know, I decided to, and he retired, I decided to spend Mondays with him, and we would go out for lunch and spend the whole afternoon talking and getting to know him, the man. So it was like we were just going to the movies. But it was in that quality time I actually got to know my father, the man, and in that knew how, you know, he never really gave me that much. He wasn't like the overly affectionate guy, but he did express how much he loved me and how proud he was of me, and how he always, you know, was always tough on me because he believed that I could make it and be something, you know, that could be a huge contribution to society. So, you know, I think it would probably be that one Father's Day that we went fishing. And, you know, he was just so proud that I caught the biggest fish of the day. And, I mean, and he carried that bad boy all the way home to show everybody in the neighborhood.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, guys.
Nice.
Well,
Don't forget the book.
yeah, when affirmative action was white. I'm going to finish it this weekend.
Okay.
Me too.
Hopefully you'll have that hammock. You can lay in it and read it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? So I'm going to sit by the door, Diane, you know, and as the FedEx truck goes by and the UPS truck goes by,
That's the amateur.
I'm going to have my face pressed up against the window.
You know, the UPS truck going by, there's Eric's face against the window.
Just pressed against the window. Yeah, just wait. So I'll let you guys know. I'll post a picture of it if it comes.
I know that was wrong. I know the network and trying to use no
Have a great
FaceTime.
week.
Hey, you guys enjoy the weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be safe. Vincent, what's our closing?
Be safe, be blessed. Have a happy Father's Day. And if it's God's will, we'll be all together again Monday expressing our